So that's been the biggest thing, is overcoming my scarcity mindset on like, oh my God, you need to make money. Oh my God, you're a failure. And being able to, when I remember, sit in a place of, I love creating. I want to create good things. So I'm going to do it.
It's a good way to think about it. Hey guys, it's your girl Eccaia, and you're watching Spill It. It's a show that gives you a glimpse into the performer's mindset and reveals the person behind the persona. In this week's episode, we've got Michael Masurkevitch. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
Kaya, thank you so very much for having me. This is super fun. I'm a big fan of your nunchucking skills. Like,
Thank you.
I do a lot of martial arts, and I can confidently say you could definitely take me down.
And you're an actor, screenwriter, producer, and musician. How did you first get interested in the arts?
So when I was a small child, I just had a very tenuous grip on reality. I would talk about things, and my parents were like, "That's not real." I would have imaginary friends who I would hang out with. I would make elaborate stories with my sister and I hanging in the backyard because my parents didn't believe in television, so we'd entertain ourselves. And I would, make up these massive plots involving our imaginary friends, and we would like chase them down and stuff. And I was just always creating in my mind. One time, it was grade 4 and we had silent reading time, and my teacher put on Pachelbel's Canon, and I just found myself sitting under a table writing poetry, which was terrible, but like at the time I thought it was amazing, and just crying at the beauty of my own poetry under the table. Meanwhile, everyone else is just like, I went to the mall, and I'm just like sitting under a table sobbing as I pen these verses. So, it's just always kind of been like, it's just always that thing of like wanting to create things to make myself and other people feel that don't necessarily have to be real life, because I'm not super grounded in what people consider to be reality.
And what's the most important thing you've learned so far in your career?
Society has this thing of success, and here's why you're successful, but is that really as important as just enjoying what you do every day, enjoying the process? So that's been really huge for me, is learning to try to let go of my need to be successful and just allow myself to enjoy the creative process.
That's really good. And now, how have you been staying motivated and focused since the pandemic hit?
I'm lucky in that right before the pandemic hit, a bunch of things happened at once. I discovered meditation and mindfulness, got back into yoga, so that when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, I have more time to meditate, do yoga, process my emotions, and feel better as a person. And then that just leads to creation, because you process your thing that you did, and then you start getting into that, and then suddenly you're writing a story about someone who was into an extreme version of what you went
Yeah.
through. Or that's really been it. Is the pandemic has given me more time for my emotional self and my physical self, and these things have just put me in a better place for motivation and creation.
And then, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the best advice I ever received was honestly just so simple and so deep that it really shattered me to the core. Every time I worry about my performance in an audition, or worry if my latest short film is going to go anywhere, it comes down from this mindset of scarcity and wondering if I'm enough as a person, and worrying about my self worth. And I had this one person in my life who just held me by the face and said, "You are enough exactly the way you are. You are worth loving yourself no matter what you do in life."
Donald Duck was a cartoon rabbit created by the Warner Brothers.
Fiction, he is a duck, not a rabbit. Donald Duck, the rabbit. Plot twist.
All right, now let's talk about your music. You've recently released Decompressed, which is available on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Deezer, Amazon, and Pandora. Before we talk about the song, can you tell us what first got you into music?
It's always been sort of a coping mechanism for me. So like if I'm really, really sad, eventually what I'm sad about might become a song. When I fall in love, sometimes that results in a song. Sometimes it doesn't, but like and so, so I've spent my life writing songs about my insecurities and my girlfriends. This song felt like it was a gift to me from meditating and the universe. This one needs to be given. So that's what made me take the jump to pay money to a music producer to make it into a real song.
And what would you say about your music is different?
My music comes from a very specific perspective of the world, which is my perspective of the world. And
And now, is there a story behind decompress? And can you tell us what it is?
decompressed came when, the pandemic was just riding high, and I was in a place of having to come to terms with a bunch of things emotionally. So I parked my car at a park in Toronto and went running through the woods. And then I'm in the middle of the woods, and I was meditating, and it just felt so good that I started crying, and then I started singing to myself like I was a baby in need of comfort through my tears. And I was singing like literally like I need to de-stress, I need to decompress, to process my mind, leave things behind. So basically like the chorus of the song was me singing through my tears to myself as I had a mental breakdown off of Rosedale Road.
Okay, let's have fun and get to know more about you with some of Spillet's just curious questions. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Oh wow, yeah. I'd be something with like deep roots of emotion, but like kind of like feminine and flowy and ethereal. So like I'm thinking willow. I'd be a willow,
I quite like willow trees personally.
right? Or like an aspen, which is like the cheap knockoff brand of willows. Maybe I'd be an aspen. I don't know.
Now, what business would you love to start?
I did a bachelor's in environmental studies, and I really wanted to save the world with businesses that help people through better environmental practices, and that hasn't left me. I mean, one of you know, the Ganges River in India, a great example. People bathe in it, people drink out of it. It is littered with waste. A lot of people get sick because of drinking and bathing from the Ganges River. But it's filled with biological waste, which, including human feces, is a great source of drawing out and burning for energy. So I really want to start a company that would obviously have to work with the sacredness of the river that cleans out some of the bio waste from that river and repurposes it to creating clean energy and also a safer river. Stuff like that
That's,
I
yeah,
really like.
something like that would also be a really good idea just because it's a win-win. You get a cleaner river and you have more electricity. So,
Thank you.
and that's all the time we have. But before we go, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave our audience with?
Creation is therapeutic. If you have an idea at 2 in the morning, or a bad dream that just hits you vividly, or an emotion that won't get rid of, write it down. Write it down, or say, if you can't write it, push your voice recorder app on your phone. Creation helps us get in touch with ourselves. And when we create something, the people who see it get to vicariously get in touch with something inside of themselves as well. So never be afraid to create. Never be afraid to take the idea or the emotion or whatever you've got and turn it into something. It'll feel great. Even if nothing else happens other than it makes you feel good, that's worth the price of admission.
That's a really good piece of advice. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being ready to spill it with us, Michael.
Thank you for letting me spill it. This was a great time. Also, I just want to reiterate, you are a boss. Keep flinging nunchucks and interviewing people. It's really cool.
Thank you. This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to end here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head on over to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, share, and get involved. Until next time, stay determined, stay driven, and always be ready to spill it. Eccaia, out.